Hello and welcome. I am Amedio602 and I'm going to be your host for today as we're going to walk through this Warzone victory and I'm going to break down the gameplay so you can win more games. In today's game, as you can see, we're going to be dropping at the lumber location, and lumber's a pretty hot drop. And in the middle of the drop, you want to watch the minimap and you want to look around for people behind you. As you see, when I land here, there is at least one squad that's landing behind us. And you can see I'm trying to take a couple shots at this guy, but he's way too laggy in that parachute. I can't take him out. So what I do is I go ahead and I mark his location for our team. But we've got an issue here, and our problem is that we've dropped a little bit too far apart. And you can see BENJI over here. He's east of me, and GREYFOX is to the west. So we're kind of surrounded by different guys here. So the play and what we end up doing is GREYFOX calls out a guy that's near him. So I go over there to back him up. And I don't know why I pick up this MG34. It's not the best gun, especially without a sight or something on it. So I wouldn't recommend picking that up unless it's the very beginning of the game like this. But I go ahead and take that guy out. And I spent too long there. So I'm gonna pause the game for a second here. And what happened was I spent too long trying to get the kill. So I was gonna thirst the guy. I was gonna, be greedy and go for the full kill. And I paid the price for that. So that's my fault that I got downed. We knew that there was another team back there. It was the very beginning of the game, so pretty much everyone's still going to be alive. And I just lingered too long out in the open. I'm sure he called out my location to his teammate. That's why I got downed. But not a big deal, because GREYFOX goes ahead and cleans up the teammate, and BENJI picks me up. And one thing I want to point out here is if you watch the gameplay, you'll notice while I'm down, I'm still paying attention to the minimap. See the minimap? You can see there's a red dot on it, so I'm calling that out, I'm marking it, I'm telling my teammates, hey, we got more people here, we got more people, we're not clear. And this next engagement, what's going to happen here is, you see, I go ahead and I pick up, I've got this SCAR, and I've got the hard hat shotgun, and I'm going to pause the game again right here. And you can see there's a guy right in front of me. So I'm going to try to take him out, but I don't know if this is the guy from the parachute earlier or what, but the gameplay is a little bit laggy for me. So what's going to happen is I'm going to miss all of my shots. And rather than push him, because he knows right where I am, if I push at him, I'm a sitting duck, right? I'm sprinting, I'm out in the open, I got no cover, nothing. So rather than push him, I wait to see if he pushes me. And what I like to do is I like to call this kind of a push-pull thing. So you push people when you've got an advantage. When you don't have an advantage, you kind of sit there and you kind of lure them into you, like especially if they know where you are. And it's a tactical form of waiting, which is called camping. So I kind of camp this guy out a little bit, and we're going to see how this plays out here. But I don't want to push him because I know it's a bad idea. So I'm going to pause. Right now you can see I'm pushing him now because now I have a huge advantage. I've got a teammate who's pushed up, and I broke his armor with the C4. So I know this guy is extremely weak. Of course, if you look down at my health, I'm weak too. But this guy's super weak, and there's no way he's going to survive the situation. If he had stayed and tried to fight, he might have been able to pick off one of us, but at this point, it's really just a numbers game. It's 2v1, and this guy's got no chance. So GREYFOX goes ahead and cleans him up for me. Appreciate that. Our next situation here, we've got more guys, and these guys are inside this building. So I'm going to pull out my shotgun, which is my short-range weapon, and notice I've got this guy's back. He made the same mistake right there that I made earlier in the game. He went for the thirst, and he didn't think about the fact that there was another teammate, another person, right behind him on the stairs with a shotgun. So he didn't get his kill, he didn't have any way to compete with me because his back was to me. So looking at the circle here, you can see it's going to close somewhere probably a little bit north and a little bit west of us in lumber. And I'm going to pause the game. I made several mistakes right here. Now, I just made a mistake by checking my map with these doors hanging wide open. Anyone could have come around the corner. You can see my teammates are far away from me, so that's not a great time to be checking your map. That one's on me. And I'm about to make another huge mistake right here. So if you watch, what I'm doing is I'm trying to clear this doorway. And I'm ADS'd, and that's a good thing. You want to be ADS'd when you're clearing a doorway. But we suspect there are more guys here because the previous guy downed. And what I'm going to do is, if you watch right here, this is awful centering. So when I talk about centering, or when anyone in Call of Duty talks about centering, they're talking about having your gun up and pointed where an enemy might be. Right now, I've got my gun pointed up and it's in the middle of a doorway. So my gun should either be on the left or on the right. If my gun's in the center of the doorway, that's a terrible idea because no enemy is going to just appear in the center of the doorway there, right? They're either going to come in from the left or the right. So pick a side, commit to it. There's a 50% chance that if you see an enemy, you're right, in which case you're going to get an easy kill. But if you're wrong, well, you're probably dead anyway, but at least you had your sights up and you tried. So this guy, again, he's got an advantage on me, so he pushes. I'm pulling him in because, I'm going to pause right here. You can see I switched the shotgun, and I'm pulling him in because I'm weak, I'm wounded. And of course, I'm calling all this out to my teammates. Now, my teammates, they see more enemies off to the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to pull him in toward me, and I'm just camping in the corner with a shotgun. But at this point, he's done so much damage to me. He's taken off my armor. There's really no chance for me in this gunfight, and he's gonna wipe me up real quick here. I do manage to break his armor, and I'm not sure if GREYFOX ended up killing that guy or not. So I'm stuck in the gulag, and what I should have done in that situation was I really should have ADS'd with the shotgun. I knew exactly where he was coming from. And with the shotgun, for anyone that doesn't know, in Call of Duty, it's almost every shotgun acts this way, not every single one. But if you hip fire, your bullet spread looks kind of like this, right? But if you ADS, your bullet spread's more like this. It's tighter, so your pellets are grouped together more, which lets you do more damage. So coming out of the gulag, we know there's another enemy in this building, and this is all about centering, and you can see this time I centered properly, watching the top of the stairs, and that was just, if I were an enemy and I were watching these stairs, where would I be standing? And the best answer is somebody's probably just going to sprint blindly up those stairs, and then you shoot them in the back. Well, I didn't do that. I just kind of went up backward watching that, so that's a good tip for stairways is don't just sprint up when you think there's someone at the top. So now I want to talk about this loadout drop a little bit. And we were kind of desperate for a loadout drop at this point. I had just gotten back from the gulag. I didn't have the best weapons. We see this guy in the car, and we were going to use the loadout drop kind of as bait to see if he tried to go for it. Sometimes the loadout drops, they'll drop a couple together. You can see this one's alone here. And I'm going to pause real quick. I made so many mistakes right here. And it doesn't look like it, but I did. Let me tell you two huge mistakes I made. The first mistake is when I pick up this AUG, this AUG is equipped with the 5.56 rounds, which are pretty good. The issue is I was using this AUG as more of an assault rifle, and the AUG at best is good for medium range. It's not really good for longer ranges where a proper assault rifle or a sniper rifle would be used for. And the second weapon that I wanted to run was that hard hat shotgun because I'd already gotten a couple of kills with it. So what I've got here is I've got an AUG and a shotgun in my class setup, and you're going to see later on in the video, it's a terrible combination. Even though we do win the game, it's not the best combination because I don't have anything for longer ranges, and there's this long standoff where I'm essentially just useless. Our team is down a gun because I made a poor class choice and I kept this shotgun instead. If I had this to do over again rather than the AUG, I would have picked either a proper assault rifle like a GRAU or an M4, or maybe even a sniper rifle like the HDR or the AX50. The second mistake I make with this class, and this is an older gameplay, so vehicles weren't as big in the meta back then, but what I needed to have a C4, and you're going to see here in a little bit, instead of the sticky grenade, which doesn't really do anything for me during this gameplay, what's going to happen is right here, you're going to see if I'd had a C4, this guy in the car would have been dead, and it would have saved us some trouble now and a little bit of trouble later. When you're down a teammate like we are right now, notice we've got plenty of money to bring back BENJI. Unfortunately, with the way the buy stations were set up, and this is kind of a poor drop choice at the beginning of the game, we didn't drop anywhere near a buy station. We were kind of in the middle of two buy stations, and they were both a couple of 100 meters away. So we get on this ATV, and we end up going back here to pick up our teammate, and what happens is we see the TAC rover. If you watch the minimap, you'll see there's a guy in a vehicle, and he's over here by this police station. What we do here is we buy BENJI back, and he redeploys, and during the redeploy, he gets shot down. These two enemies do the smartest thing they could have possibly done, and that's push us right away. And so we got a little bit lucky with these kills. They don't end up finishing the teammate or anything. And you can see GREYFOX and I are kind of split up looking for the second guy. So the first guy pushed us, he died right away. He was trying to go for that finish again. And the second guy, we just kind of went different directions. And when we went those different directions, we cut off his escape route, so he couldn't get away either. Alright, so now I want to take some time to talk about this next circle. So you can see we're going to have to move, and there's a big question here. Are we going to have to cross over the ravine? And crossing over this ravine is very dangerous. I couldn't tell you how many times I've gotten my squad wiped or we've wiped another squad crossing this stupid ravine. And I don't know why this big ditch is in the game, but it's in here. And the key with the ravine is you need to predict whether you're going to need to cross. And you don't want to cross until you have to, but you don't want to cross at the last second either. So if you cross the ravine too early and the circle decides to change its mind, you might end up crossing the ravine again, and you definitely don't want to have to cross this thing more than once. So what we're doing now is we know our backs are clear, because that's the out of bounds area, that's the storm, no one was going to survive that. But we've got a team up here to our left and another team to our right. And you have to be so careful when crossing this ravine. Notice that we don't wait until the last possible second. We wait a little while, we don't cross it until we're sure we're going to have to cross it, but once we see that we're going to have to cross it, we cross it, and we kind of cross it differently and randomly. So you might have noticed BENJI went for the loadout drop because he had just gotten redeployed, so he needed to get a good class setup. I could have used the loadout drop just for better guns, but I didn't. And we're going to see a mistake here again. This is the same mistake with the class, and it's why it's so vital to pick the right class from a loadout drop. You can see I'm in an 80-meter fight with an SMG. The AUG, even with the 5.56 attachment, is no assault rifle. Now, could I have killed this guy eventually? Maybe with a better sight? Yeah, for sure. Maybe with more recoil control, things like that. At this point, I'm getting a little nervous, and I know there are guys to our left and to our right. So what I decide to do is I flank over to the right, and I manage to down one of them because I can close that distance where my SMG is more effective. And the second guy, I'm going to pause right here behind this tree. I thought I was dead. I thought I was just completely screwed here because I had pushed up alone. So time out for a second while I hide behind this tree. I pushed up alone on the right. If you look at the minimap, my teammates are nowhere near me, and that's a dangerous thing to do. I thought I was completely screwed because once I downed the first guy, his teammate put a lot of shots into me. You can see it broke my armor. I didn't have any spare armor. So how I'm going to get out of this is I'm going to wait for the storm to come, and the storm's going to push him. You can see right here, I do have a gas mask, and I'm going to use that as part of my escape tactic. And while I'm escaping and while this other guy's fighting the storm, GREYFOX is going to lay down covering fire for me, and he manages to kill the guy, which is fantastic. Thank you so much for that, GREYFOX. Now the gameplay is starting to wind down a little bit. You can see we've got 2 teams left with a total of 5 people still alive. There's no buy station left, so there are going to be no more redeploys. So you've got 2 guys up at this house, and then you've got 3 guys down below. So they've got better position than us, but what we lack in position, we make up for in numbers. And the first guy here is going to make a huge mistake. Instead of staying put and keeping his positional advantage, he jumps over this fence and he gets gunned down. You can see right there, it's 2 guns against 1, and he was in the middle of mantling, so he really didn't have a chance. His best play there was to catch our backs, and then maybe he would have been able to get one of us. But when it's 3 against 2, you really need to keep your position and play your position. I don't know why he chose to push us right there, but that was a big mistake on his part. And then finally with the last guy here, it's 3 against 1. I had a shot in the guy, and he was running one way, and the guy just had nowhere to go. I pushed him to get extra damage to him because even if he downed me, there were 2 people that were still going to hunt him down, and we would have won the game either way. And if you want to learn more great tips, tricks, and tactics like this in the future, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out. Don't forget to like today's video, and as always, thank you very much for watching.